So tell me a little bit about the sound frequency things that you've been doing, Rico.
Yeah, well, I got into sound frequency about 15 years ago when my daughter was first diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, and I just pulled out every single stop that any type of healing modality, and I really, already being a musician, when I started learning about 528 hertz, that was really my first experience. I got that tuning from a Native American who had put a video up on YouTube, and he was showing this vibrational tuning.
Yeah.
It matches the vibration and energy the sun puts out, and so all botanicals, all flowers, everything botanical is vibrating at 528 hertz, and it's known as the love frequency. That's what they call it, the love frequency. Incredibly powerful for healing, transformation, opening up, and it has so many applications that we use throughout our hypnosis series. And I use it in my sessions on my website. I have a company called Synergy of Energy where I do tuning fork sessions, and I studied under Eileen McCusick, and she uses a single
fork. Is this how you use it?
Yeah, bam! Smack right upside the head. Yeah, that's one way. But I use two forks at once. I create an energy field between them. And when this field comes in contact with your field, if the energy is out of coherence, it will throw these forks off and they'll start wobbling, whoop, 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 like that.
I remember that.
Yeah, you've heard it before.
Yeah.
You can hear now, we just hear one tone. And because they're matching, when you activate one, it immediately jumps to the other. And that's a lot how human beings work. Like when somebody's putting love into their relationship, and they're putting out that vibration, and like you're with your husband, and then you start vibrating at his love frequency, so it jumps.
Oh yeah, if somebody's angry and they walk into a room, it changes the environment of the whole room. I've definitely noticed that.
Oh yeah. Exactly. You can see how it spreads. Or laughter. Laughter is incredible. One of the things that I also do with my modalities is I use a microscope. And I look at blood samples before and after my sessions. The results have been absolutely incredible. We had one instance, which I'm trying to repeat and get captured on video, where I had a client here, and her blood was seriously tied up. I mean, it was in a roulette state or coagulated state. And as soon as I put on this track of children laughing, she started laughing really hard. Now keep in mind, this blood sample is outside of her body. It's live on the microscope. She's sitting, we're all listening to this track, and then she starts laughing so hard with these kids, and her blood right before our very eyes just went boom, and we saw a burst of energy shoot through it, and it just lined up. It was incredible. I've never seen anything like it, so I'm excited to get that on film.
Yeah, definitely need to recreate
and
that
let
one.
everybody see that. So and when I met Teresa and we started talking about, she started telling me about hypnosis, which I didn't know a lot about. I think I threw out one of those standard things. Are you gonna make me pluck like a chicken? I was like, you're gonna say some key word, I'm gonna start making a fool out of myself. And so yeah, what is that PHS, post-hypnotic suggestion? How's that work?
Well, of course, with hypnotherapy, we use it for therapeutic purposes. Unlike with stage hypnosis, you use it for entertainment. So I could tell you, when you're in hypnosis, I could tell you to forget the number 3 exists. And you would count thinking you're counting 1 to 10, missing the number 3 without realizing it. It's a stage trick, but it actually uses the power of hypnosis. The hypnosis part is absolutely real.
Wow, I've seen those at the fair, and I always thought, like, did he hand select these people?
Nope.
There
is a science behind it. I mean, like, there are people he chooses. You have to be engaged, wanting to be, but not overly enthusiastic. If somebody's jumping up and down, it's usually somebody who wants to sabotage. So there's a whole psychology behind how stage hypnosis works.
Right. You know, it's incredible. I watched a guy span 2 chairs like these with just the heels on one and his neck on the other side, and he was as rigid as a board. I was like, what? So that's been...
Our bodies respond. Right. When you're in hypnosis, insula gets highlighted, and that is the mind-body connection.
Right.
So that makes it that much more powerful when you're going through a healing experience. I can tell you all about that.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So what is this, I had a few people tell me, like, I had a friend say, oh, you're not getting under my hood, you're not going to tinkle around in there. And I said, trying to explain to her that there's nothing, you told me, and I'll let you elaborate, that all hypnosis is self-hypnosis. Tell me, how they're protected and that we're not going to do anything under their hood.
Absolutely. Wouldn't want to go there. No, but actually, people go into hypnosis every day. When you're having a daydream, that's a light state of hypnosis. Now with hypnotherapy and with these tracks, you just go deeper. And when you go deep, that doesn't mean that you become a zombie or anything like that. What happens is your conscious mind takes a back seat. Now, unless you drift off to sleep, you'll remember just about everything, although people sometimes notice they drift in and out. And with these recordings, with repetitions, different phrases pop out at them the different times they listen. But really, it's perfectly safe. Stanford has done extensive research and shows their scans of what changes in your brain when you drift off into hypnosis. So it's both fun, it's deeply relaxing, and it's incredibly powerful.
Yeah, so that's some of the suggestions in your world that you guys call it post-hypnotic suggestions.
So what we use it for is to strengthen the thing that you're working on, whether it's sleep, that, every time your head hits the pillow, you drift off into a deep sleep. Isn't that something wonderful? So we only give suggestions that we know you will love.
Right, right. And it's a very powerful tool. I mean, that's one of the main facets of hypnosis that I had always heard about was planting a suggestion that's for their benefit.
Yeah.
Now, some of the other techniques that we've come up with is we're using this confusion track in the induction. Tell us a little bit about what that's all about and how it works.
Some of the inductions do have this confusion track, which when you're drifting off into hypnosis, some people are very controlled and want to stay in control and don't want to drift off into hypnosis, or just a little have a harder time to drift there. So we include this confusion track before the countdown, and it's really, you'll hear my voice and maybe some subliminal suggestions, and in addition there's another track playing in the background. And it's kind of reinforcing what we're talking about, but it's not directly related to what we're talking about. And your conscious mind, who wants to maintain that control, will just be like, what? Wait, what? Wait.
Right,
and then all of a sudden, okay, I'll go in the back seat.
So they kind of surrender is what happens after they, what I've noticed is I'm listening to it, it's the confusion track is at a much lower volume, and then you're straining to kind of, what is that? What is she saying? And then I hear the main VO come in, and then you kind of, you get a little bit like, it tires you out, and then you just surrender and listen to the name. So that takes you into a deeper state then, huh?
It does. It just kind of reminds me of lying on the couch watching TV, and you feel like you're about to drift off, and the harder you try not to drift off, the faster you drift off.
Right, yeah. So some of the other techniques or things that I've seen in our development is this countdown, both in the induction and in the hypnosis. What's the countdown all about, and how does that work in hypnosis?
Well, personally, I like it. It's not something that needs to be in there. You can have a hypnosis that isn't clearly defined. This is in the induction, and now you're in hypnosis, and now we're leaving it. But I like that. It kind of bookends the session. The lead up, the way into hypnosis, then the main body, and then a little count out. So it's also hypnosis and this going into using hypnosis for a purpose, like what we're doing in hypnotherapy. It's something that you can practice, and the more you practice, the better you get.
Right.
In fact, so, I have a story where one time I was driving with my kids who were young then and couldn't drive yet, back from Los Angeles, and I was about 2 hours away from home, and I was exhausted. And I thought, I don't know, I want to make sure I drive safely. So I pulled over. the kids went shopping for 20 minutes, got some snacks, and I did a self-hypnosis in the back of the car. It was so restorative. We drove the rest of the way home, easy peasy.
So our tracks that we developed, they have two main sections and they're clearly defined, one being the induction that she was just talking about, and then there's the actual hypnosis.
And then the third one is the count out.
Yeah, is the count out.
Yeah.
So the first two, the induction, you would say that that's getting you into a hypnotic state.
Yes.
At that point, and that's where I'm using the binaural beats as well to help to get you into a theta type of a brainwave state where you're more receptive, relaxed, and open to PHS's, post-hypnotic suggestions.
Yes, yes.
After those typically have run anywhere between 8 to 10 minutes. After that, we move into the body, the hypnosis section. And our tracks, a lot of them have storylines in them and things that you can relate to, whether it's Surrender, which is a story about a woman who has to cross some bridges in life, and she has to surrender to get across these bridges. So we try to use real life metaphors to make it entertaining and also to make it real life. Now, the hypnosis section, what is the main difference in that as far as their state of mind, and what is it that you're we're driving home the point in that section of the programs?
Well, I think I already mentioned the insula, which is the mind-body connection, and then this cognitive awareness part of the brain taking the back seat. And then that makes you more cognitively flexible. And what that means is in your day-to-day life, your mind knows what it's doing and it just wants to keep doing the same things it's doing. And you've decided that you want to make a shift. Well, this shift happens much easier when you're in hypnosis. And then with the post-hypnotic suggestion, you're practicing it. And also with repeating the recording, listening to the recording multiple times. And really, I love that each of our modalities, they work in and of themselves, but when we bring them together, it's just amazing.
Yeah, some of the, honestly, when I read the first reviews that were coming in, I actually asked her, did you pay these people to write this?
I did not.
The results that people are getting from our tracks are incredible. Now, everybody's heard lately, everyone's talking about frequency, energy, and vibration. And, Nicholas Tesla, who really famously coined the phrase, if you want to know...
Not lately, though.
Yeah, not lately. Yeah, this was over 150 years ago. But he basically coined the phrase, if you want to understand the universe, understand frequency, vibration, and energy. And then Einstein said the future of medicine is the future of vibration, which is funny because the FDA just approved the first vibrational for removing tumors off of the liver without any operation, non-invasive removal. So we've been, the technology has been held back, it's coming forward. Now you hit on another point that comes up a lot, this 21 times. We've had people say, oh boy, that seems like a lot of times, and they even claim I don't have the time. And I always say, look at the suffering you're going through. You've got anxiety, you can't sleep, you're so stressed out with the anxiety. Why aren't you listening to our anxiety? 21 times, I don't know, but they can listen to it when they're sleeping.
Your subconscious is always listening, and in fact, the people who are really stressed go, you really do need it, and you really do deserve it to give that to yourself, because your nervous system, in our modern world, our nervous systems are wired up here and they need to be calmed down. Right. And you could go to my website and see what I've been through. It's, a lot of people call it a miracle, and okay, I'll take it, because 4 years ago I was in the hospital with stage 4 melanoma, and of course I did brain surgeries, but how did I prepare? What was happening between my ears? That's the important, critical thing. So now I do help people who are experiencing a difficult diagnosis. I help you with your healing mindset. When you align the body with the power of the mind, healing happens easier, quicker, fewer complications. People think I suffered, but I really didn't.
Other pictures I saw of you, you had the biggest smile on your face, like even when you had the electrodes hooked up, and pictures of her in the hospital, it just says, you know, she just has a positive disposition, which is why her voice on our tracks is actually an imprint, it's a vibration, it's a frequency. And her enthusiasm and her voice energy comes through on our tracks. That's why we would never, for our series, we would never use an AI artificial voice, because there is no imprint with it. I mean, and we come to learn that. So this 21 times, going back to that, you know, that was developed and first by a brain surgeon in the 1960s, and he, Maxwell, I can't remember his last name, but he's really the one that had kept a journal and started seeing that after the brain surgery, some of his patients had to do a lot of recovery, learn to walk again, learn to read again. And so he started noticing, like, every day they would read the same thing over and over. And after 21 times, their brain was restored. And then to take that even further, Joe Dispenza, who's actually using really high-end equipment to measure the telomeres in your brain, he sees them lengthening. The telomeres are lengthening. So that is proof that the information being brought in is being received when your telomeres are lengthening. And so we go with the 21 times is what we recommend.
Or more. More is always okay too. You know, you can listen every day for a whole month or longer. Some people like to listen twice a day. It's perfectly okay. The repetition is what wires those new pathways in your brain. And I kind of liken it to shoveling a path in the snow. You know, initially you know where you want to get there, but you have a hard time getting there in the deep snow, and then you shovel it away and it's a clear path. That's what we're doing with repetition.
Right. So it's really important, and it's, you know, it's like I said, you lay down at night, you put your headphones, your earbuds in, you hit play on your device, you go to sleep, you might wake up an hour later, pop them out and roll right back to sleep. Or I actually like first thing in the morning because I'm so relaxed in the morning. I just set my alarm a little bit earlier. I have my headphones. Then I don't use the earbuds. I like over the ear ones, which I can't sleep with. And then I just put those on and play the tracks, and it's absolutely amazing. Doesn't take any time out of my day whatsoever. But
well, I like to sometimes take a break in the afternoon. You've been running around, and then maybe you get home. You just deserve a break. And if you were to go to sleep, you might sleep for 3 hours. But if you put on a half-hour hypnosis, you'd be up right back, perky and energetic as ever. Right.
So once we finish this listening study, we've been developing this series, and right now we have about 17 titles, and we have a lot more in our heads that we want to continue to produce. What I've noticed from people who are reading back is once you go through our program and you write a review, we want to thank you. And honestly, your feedback has been invaluable for us to make adjustments. And it's really our feedback from you. So we thank you so much for this study. So if they do a written testimony, what we give them?
2 additional recordings.
2 additional.
And if you do a video review, of what your experience was, you'll receive 4 additional recordings. And in addition, you'll get the most up-to-date version as we make new ones or fine-tune the editing. You'll receive affirmations, 10 minutes. If you only have 10 minutes in the middle of the day, listen to the affirmations.
Tell me a little bit about so when we produce these tracks, when you buy them, when right now we're just in the beta version, but when you buy the tracks, you'll be getting the main hypnosis. You'll get one with no wake up for people who want to use it at nighttime.
Because you don't want to have me telling you to wake up when you're already sleeping.
Right. So we have that version. Then we have a meditation, which is the same show minus the induction. So you can just use that and listen to this lovely story.
But it won't. Unless you can get yourself into the hypnosis, you won't be in hypnosis, but it still reinforces it.
We use it as a meditation.
Right.
It's a different application. It's to really bring yourself, and after you've done the induction so much, my guess is we'll find that it will bring people into a hypnotic state.
Well, it's like I mentioned, that hypnotic muscle, you know, the more you go there, the easier it is to go there and come back and be in control of it. So in fact, the people who think you lose control, it's actually the opposite. You actually gain control because you get access to that maybe 90 to 95% of your subconscious.
Right, right. And then we will be, each one of the tracks comes with affirmations. And these affirmations are specifically designed to go with the track. They have the same guitar score underneath it, the same frequency. Sometimes I put soundscapes under them. And they're repeated exactly, there's a series of 9, and then we play them 3 times. Each one slows down. It's a technique that I've learned that it slows down just by 15%, and the next series slows down. The whole thing takes like 10 minutes, beautiful music. Where would you use those affirmations? When and where would you use that?
Well, like I said, if I only have 10 minutes and I don't have the whole 25 minutes to do the hypnosis, that would be really great for reinforcement. It would be in addition to the 21 times. It's like if you really want to get a good night's sleep and you haven't been sleeping well, you can approach it from all the different angles. And really, it's to give you options.
Right. So now there's this other facet of our products that at the end of the hypnosis is this thing called a wake up, where she does a countdown, usually from 5 to 1. What is exactly that for, and what's it all about?
Well, typically I'll count down from 10 to 1, and then I'll count up from 1 to 5. 1, it's usually easier for people to pop out of hypnosis. I mean, most people can just, give a stretch, wiggle your fingers and toes and stretch, and away you go, right?
Right.
So that's, I think I mentioned it earlier, I just like to bookend the main part of the hypnosis. And just because I count you down and now you're in hypnosis doesn't mean you stay at the same level. Typically people drift a little deeper into even deeper relaxation, and at the end is when we usually mention the post-hypnotic suggestions to really anchor it and make it solid.
Yeah, and as she was saying, these 2 modalities, I mean, hypnosis is documented going back over 4,000 years. And right now, the wellness industry is, in the U.S., it's about an $8 billion industry, as finally our country's starting to wake up to all the processed food and the horrible media we're watching, and really a lot of harm that we're doing to ourselves is coming to light. So 4,000 years, and as she stated, when you combine that with tuning forks and frequency, which has been around since the beginning of time, even the buildings that our ancestors built, the structures, put out frequencies, stained glass, and you go to Europe and you go to some of the old cathedrals, they actually have devices and they can measure frequency coming off of sacred geometry. This is some sacred geometry you might be able to see here and behind us. So these shapes, frequencies, and hypnosis, man, when you combine these 2 modalities together, and we met, it was meant to be the way we met. This whole project has been incredible, the way it has just flown in a natural pace. And I am just flabbergasted astonished by the reviews that we're getting. I can't believe it.
It's funny that you're so surprised, but I'm a hypnotherapist. I'm used to people getting incredible results.
Right.
And so this adding of the frequencies just makes the whole listening experience wonderful. In fact, I was going to tell you the one time I was listening to a track we had recently recorded, and I looked around for the cat because there's the purring of the cat in there. It was funny. I was like, how did the cat get in here?
Yeah, right. We had one client that, because these programs are laced with all kinds of frequencies. Some of them are, at the 66 hertz or low. Boom. So this client wrote in, she goes, I started listening and then I stopped. I kept hearing the hum. So I thought my refrigerator was, so she went over and unplugged her refrigerator. Then she unplugged her microwave. Then she unplugged her coffee maker. She started unplugging. She's still hearing. Everything. Then finally she realized, wait a minute, this is coming from my headphones. This is in the track. So
well, and it's interesting because I do think she switched the title, but the other title also had the frequency.
So they all have frequency.
And she realized she didn't even realize how stressed she was until she listened for a month.
Right. That particular review, which is on the site, it's just absolutely fascinating. She was actually very resistant to it. She told me, it's not my bag, I'm not into it. And now her review says that she can't get enough of it. And I'm also reading that in other reviews. People are reporting not even using the sleep track, that they're sleeping, all of them, all the tracks. You start releasing anger, you start forgiving people. These are all incoherent energies that you're carrying around.
The one woman who was doing the forgiveness one said her blood pressure got better.
Right, right.
So it's this mind-body connection.
It's a mind-body, your body's going to come into balance.
If the reason you're not sleeping is because you're stressed and you just can't let go, well, hypnosis is absolutely going to help you no matter which title you choose.
Right, right. You know, I, like a lot of people in a spiritual quest, I have tried every technique to deal with some of my childhood wounds. I mean, everything from meditation to somatics to Kundalini yoga. I've studied hands-on healing, Reiki healing, all these different practices that are proven to work, but take a long time. If you want to do self-healing and you want to go put yourself into a meditative state, I mean, some of the monks that do these feats of drying wet towels on their back over in Japan and in China, they studied for 15, 20 years. Now there's people who are doing hypnosis tracks that are doing that in under a year through hypnosis. So, you know, we have our two modalities. I release incoherent energy. She rebalances it and brings it. You put these two together. It's like, hey, who put their chocolate in my peanut butter? Reese's Cups is a beautiful. It's delightful. It's delightful. So we really encourage you to.
Please tell your friends.
Yeah, tell your friends. Share it with people. It's free. It doesn't cost you a penny. It doesn't cost you any time. You do it while you sleep if time is of the essence for you. And feel free to reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you. You can contact us through our personal websites and emails, which will be up on our listening study page.
Messages below.
Right, message below. Teresa has a website called Dreamcatcher
Hypnotherapy.com.
So Dreamcatcher.
Dreamcatcherhypnotherapy.com.
Right, and my website is called synergyofenergy.net. And on there, you can read a lot of reviews on my site from people who've been through my tuning fork, working with frequency, and the same, just having
the horses.
Yeah, right.
Did you tell them about the horses?
Oh, the horses, right. Well, when I first got the guitar and started playing in 528. I don't know what made me do it. The first thing I did is I'm going to go out and start playing for horses, and I played for horses and pigs and donkeys and sheep and goats. And
it wasn't bad.
It was. That was good. It was crazy. I mean, I couldn't believe what was happening. We're going to put together a video on that soon because I shot it off. Just outrageous. They absolutely just love this tuning. I mean, listen to that. Sounds like butter. That's what I call it. People ask me, what is this tuning? And it's a frequency, it's a vibration, and it's an energy. So anyways, this is a little opening to the combination of our two services. I hope this just gave you a little more insight into what it's all about. And feel free to reach out to us, join our listening study, share it with your friends. And get on board with us because we really need your feedback. We want this to be the best series that was ever produced.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for watching and sign up below.
Blessings.
Thank you.